Greetings to all of humanity. It's really a joy, it's a pleasure, it's my honor to be greeting you and always bringing this message of emancipation to you, whereby I'm pointing you to look no other place but to look inwardly to discover that your real identity is your divinity. And that is why today I want to speak to you concerning secular Christianity, beggy beggy mentality, and how when a person believes in secular Christianity, that most of the time they end up in poverty and they have a beggy beggy mentality. Now, when I speak of this beggy beggy mentality, I am speaking from experience. And if you're listening to me and you're honest and you have ever been a part of secular Christianity, you will realize every time that you pray to God is always gimme, 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 gimme. And that is the beggy beggy mentality that I'm speaking of. Even in third world countries, where most of the people believe in secular Christianity and they look for a savior outside of themselves, even the prime ministers and the presidents, they too have this kind of mentality, and they give the people this kind of mentality too, that it's all about gimme, gimme, gimme. It's a beggy beggy mentality, we call it down here in the Caribbean. And so it's like, you see like these smaller islands, you find the leaders, they're gonna beg the president of America, they're gonna beg Europe, they're gonna beg Asia, they're depending on Taiwan, they're depending on this, they're depending on that, and they never teach the people to believe in themselves. They never teach the people to look within themselves to discover greatness. And that is why I'm speaking about this beggy beggy mentality. Now, when you are so wrapped up and tied up in secular Christianity and having a superstitious mentality, and you always going before this God who's supposed to be outwardly, you always looking for something, you always begging for something, because deep within you realize that your life is not going the way that you want it to be. Saying, God, give me this, God, give me that, God, help me to this, God, help me to do that. And sometimes we're so brainwashed, sometimes we would say that it is not our will, but let thy will be done. When really and truly it is us who want certain things to be done in our lives, so it must be our will. And we would be saying that, not knowing that having a will is a part of our mental faculties that we're born with. So our will, our perception, our imagination, our intuition, our reasoning, all of these things have been sabotaged. And so we do not use them in the right way. What they do through indoctrinating us in school with Christianity mingled with academic education is to have us dwell in the realm of memory only. So we have all of these other faculties, and all they have us do is to recite and regurgitate things over and over. And if you think deeply, you realize just as we've been regurgitating those things over and over, and they become a part of our life, it proves a key to create your reality consciously. Therefore, you just switch it around. So instead of you forming the things that they teach you in school that make you become more religious and make you become more dependent on a power outside of yourself, you repeat things towards yourself that will uplift you. Say positive things. And that is why affirmation is very important to help you to get out of this beggy beggy mentality. So actually, secular Christianity is shaping you in a path of poverty and insanity. Because insanity is actually doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. And that's why people live in these parts, like where I'm living here in this island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and many other Caribbean islands. They do not like change. They do not even like to change their government. That's why my country right now, they just have an election and the ruling party going to continue to rule for another 5 years, which will make it 25 years. Because the people can only remember the last very close election. You give them money, you give them anything, you can sway them. Because they never learn to believe in themselves. They never learn the power of their mind. And if you are listening to me and you have no idea of the lifestyle in the Caribbean or in any third world country, if you have never traveled in a third world country, you wouldn't really realize what I'm talking about. You wouldn't realize the magnitude of ignorance of which I am speaking. I mean, it's not easy for you to listen to school children repeating the same mantra over and over and over, knowing that you yourself grew up saying those same mantras, and your mother and your grandmother and your great-grandmother, great-grandfather, nothing has changed. And you realize this is what was used to keep me to have a slavish mentality, to have a poverty mentality, to have also an employee mentality. But when I say that, I'm not saying that you cannot be an employee, because you need balance. There must be employers and employee. But when you become more wiser and you realize that you can create your reality and that you can create your reality consciously, then you can change from being an employer. So now you're doing an 8 to 4 or 8 to 5 job. Right now you start planning now how to get out from it and having more than enough to start your own. Or there are other people who will take drastic measures. Like myself, most of my jobs, I just walk off of those jobs because I knew deep within myself that no one can put me to sleep and no one can wake me up. So I do not believe that someone can hire me and someone can fire me. So I never believe in someone to talk down to me or try to make me believe that I am afraid of losing a job. Okay, but I'm not saying everybody must be like me, but I am just bringing this kind of information to help you to understand that actually secular Christianity is what been breeding poverty in all of the black communities all around the world. And it's very hard to break that program from them because it's something being used in the schools, especially in the Caribbean where I'm living here. And I want to believe in Africa. I've never been to Africa, but I want to believe so. Okay? And the same people who teach that imagination creates reality. I've heard people who teach that, speak about giving charity to Africa and building schools and so on, and they actually, when they build the schools, they know that they've been programmed to think a certain way. When they give them charity too, they've been programming them to think a certain way too. Because why should I give you a fish when I could teach you how to fish? If I was giving you a fish, you're going to be dependent on me to give you a fish. But if I teach you how to fish, you won't have to depend on me to bring a fish for you. And that is what people in Africa and third world countries been feeding on, getting a fish. And that's why even the Bible says that he that refuses that gift is wise. He's talking about how gifts could bribe you and make you compromise and so on. And in order for you to understand why I'll be saying all of these things and still quoting the Bible is because I've come to realize that the Bible addresses the human mind and must be interpreted psychologically. That the Bible is not literal, neither is it secular history. So people who chopped in secular Christianity believe that they have a monopoly on the Bible. So once you do not believe the Bible, you mustn't quote the Bible, you mustn't talk about the Bible. But when I speak about the Bible, Bible for me is basic inner basic inner belief, life eternal. Because that's what basic inner belief, life eternal. So it's something that's taking place within. And that is why when you learn that your real identity is your divinity and that you are to keep your focus inwardly and use your thoughts to create your reality consciously, because the Bible addresses the human mind must be interpreted psychologically, then you will realize that true Christianity is pointing you to look inwardly and that real salvation is self-realization. then you will realize that the creative power is within you. And that when the Bible speaks of God in man, it is speaking of man's imagination. Therefore, to create your reality consciously. So you use your imagination morning, noon, and night. And you realize that you will come to realize that the Creator is in you and want it to be. And that is why it is said in St. John 1 and 3 that all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. Teaching you that everything that was made, it was false imagined, it was false authority, it was false an idea. And everything else that ever going to be made, it must be false idea, it must false be imagined. So my brother and my sisters, this message right here, right now, is to wake you up to understand that why there's so much poverty in the world today, and why most people who talk about secular to heaven and all of these foolishness and talking about the coming of Jesus and so on, they use Christianity to hide behind the poverty, because real poverty is poverty of imagination, is a lack of imagination. They cannot use their imagination, they do not see themselves highly, they do not have the right self-esteem, and because of all of this, they're suffering from a mental disease. And instead of they facing themselves and realize that the devil represents the negative self, and they are to vibrate out of fear and negativity and vibrate under the energy of love, they would rather to judge and condemn others. But when we look at secular Christianity produces people who have this mentality of judgment, condemnation, and anything that is negative about this world. They always say that God would have spoken to them, whether in a dream or a vision. The message has always been something negative. I've never heard anyone who is in secular Christianity say that the Lord spoke to them and tell them that he gave them a millionaire or to become a billionaire. I've never heard anyone say that God spoke to them and give them a message of how to become rich, or how to come up with a certain program in the world that will help the rest of the world. I've never heard none of them say that. And that's why when you look around, the internet didn't come by the revelation of a Christian. The computer wasn't invented by a Christian. Money wasn't invented by a Christian. When you look more deeply, you realize nothing great and powerful in this world that is benefiting all of humanity was ever invented by anyone who is in secular Christianity or who have a religious mentality. It has always been thinkers, people like me and people like you who are listening to me right now, and who will believe that imagination creates reality and that God in man is man's imagination. So with that being said, my brother and my sister, I want to thank you very much, and I want to say to you, if this is the very first time that you're listening to me and what I'm saying is really resonating with you and is really helping you in any way, if you haven't subscribed already, I'm encouraging you to subscribe, to like, to comment, or to share this video. But just before I leave you, I just want to remind you that this message I bring to you, that it is the single eye message of self-realization, of which Matthew 6:22 says that if your eye be single, your whole body be full of light. Like when the single eye awake within me, and I come to realize what it means when it says that you shall change from mortal to immortality in a twinkling of an eye. For the twinkling of an eye is an opening of an eye, where you will vibrate from humanity and come in to your divinity. That's the reason why I always say, do not let anyone deceive you concerning the single eye to make you believe that it's an evil symbol. No, it is the symbol of the all-seeing eye of God in you. For when you have the experience, you will realize that the eye represents the eye of the mystics, the seers, the prophets, those who will vibrate beyond humanity and discover their divinity. And that is why I always say to you also that you would realize by having the experience that it is the rising of the S-U-N in a S-O-N, and that it is the dawning of it in your life. For the sun, as in the S-U-N, it parallels the human imagination, and the human imagination parallels the sun. For without the sun, there is no life and there is no light. And without the human imagination, there isn't anything made that was made. That's the reason why you're told in Psalms 84 and 11 that the Lord thy God is a sun, a S-U-N I'm talking about, okay? And a shield and no good thing will he withhold from you. And truly common sense will teach you that the Son, as in the SUN, has never withheld any, for the Son is what powers all of humanity and give all of humanity its energy. Therefore, without the Son, all of humanity is dead. Also, in Malachi chapter 4 and verses 2, you're told that the Son of righteousness, as in the SUN, of righteousness shall arise in you with healing in his wings. So the Son of righteousness is teaching you that righteousness is a discovery. It is not something that you attain. And when that experience takes place within you, you will bring healing to all of humanity. That is why I'm encouraging each and everyone to use your mind power, which is your solar power, your sun power, your God power, your creative power, which is actually the sexual power. Use that power to achieve your every desire. So with that being said, I want to say peace, love you all, I'm out.